It's often said that numbers don't lie, which is a lie. Numbers can be manipulated. They can be distorted to support just about anything. You got to be careful and look behind the numbers because numbers aren't people. You need to look at what the numbers represent. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about what's happening with crime in Washington, D.C. Now, President Trump called in the National Guard. Why did he do that? Well, he did it because crime seems way out of control in our nation's capital. Now, far-left radicals who have probably never stepped a foot in certain parts of D.C. after dark are beside themselves, screaming that Trump is an evil dictator.
Why, though, are you so opposed to this deployment?
Well, there's plenty of reasons.
Case in point, CNN's Dana Bash's response to Trump federalizing D.C. police.
I should note that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th.
Well, that doesn't seem like a great analogy. January 6th was one day. So I'm not sure how that lines up with trying to get D.C. residents safe day to day to day. Those same liberals are pointing to crime stat after crime stat, saying that D.C. isn't so dangerous anymore. Well, that's why I say you got to look beyond the numbers and look at what's happening to the people those numbers are purportedly describing. Because let me tell you, if something happens to you, it's 100%. They can say, oh, traffic accidents are down. Well, if you get run over, for you, it's 100%. And there's too much going on in our cities to pretend that a 6% or 4.2% decrease changes things for the people that are impacted. So here's the real story. The real crime in America is how the progressive left uses crime statistics to fit a political narrative. And you can see that by looking at some headlines. Trump takes control of D.C. police, citing bloodthirsty criminals, but crime is down. Fact check. Well, that's true. Violent crime in D.C. has fallen in 2024 and 2025 after a 2023 spike. Trump's unprecedented takeover of D.C. police comes as crime is down, figures show. But let's be clear, not one crime victim could care less about these stats. As I point out, if you've been robbed, attacked, or had a gun pointed at your head, those statistics don't mean a thing. Maybe those suits in the corner office at CNN, the New York Times, MSNBC like spewing data, but they're journalists. The ones who live in D.C. cannot hide the fact that crime in D.C. is horrific. It may be down, but down from what? I give credit to ABC News anchor Kara Phillips, who had this to say.
We've been talking so much about the numbers, and yeah, usually that's how you play devil's advocate, is you talk about, oh, well, stats say crime is down. However, I can tell you firsthand here in downtown D.C. where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, there were 2 people shot. One person died, literally 2 blocks down here from the bureau. It was within the last 2 years that I actually was jumped, walking just 2 blocks down from here. And then just this morning, one of my coworkers said her car was stolen a block away from the bureau. So we can talk about the numbers going down, but crime is happening every single day because we're all experiencing it firsthand while working and living down here.
Even this MSNBC analyst broke from the network's leftist agenda to say the numbers don't mean squat.
And I live in Washington. This is personal for me. Many people are frustrated with crime that we see.
And CNN's number cruncher called a spade, saying that Biden failed miserably when it came to fighting crime.
All right, net approval rating handling crime. What do we have here? We have a positive rating for Donald Trump, even in the most recent polling. Look at that, at plus 2 points. Far better than Joe Biden, who was so far underwater. My goodness, he was setting records at minus 26 points. You rarely ever see it.
One more example from CNN that can't sugarcoat DC's crime epidemic.
The polling that you showed earlier, combining people who thought crime is an extreme problem or crime is a moderate problem, was 91%.
Yeah,
so that is,
I totally agree.
So 91% of people who live in a jurisdiction think it's a moderate or an extreme problem. This is not a figment of anyone's imagination. This is not mass hysteria. This isn't, some, collective hallucination. It's real.
After hearing those examples, you got to think maybe we're not as divided on some of these issues as we seem to be, because everybody has to agree that crime, particularly violent crime, where people are physically assaulted, victimized, is a bad thing. Does it matter if we acknowledge Trump as long as we get criminals off the street? Now, maybe you don't like Trump. Maybe you hate Trump. Maybe you can't stand the way he does what he does or says what he says. But if it saves 10 people a day, 20 people a week from getting hit over the head or stabbed in the stomach, don't you have to give due? D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, she called Trump's crime crackdown an authoritarian push.
This is a time where community needs to jump in, and we all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city, and to protect our autonomy, to protect our home rule, and get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect a Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
So here we go again. Stats over common sense. Does Mayor Bowser care that in one day the feds made 52 arrests in D.C., including an MS-13 gang member previously convicted of driving while intoxicated and drug possession? Well, of course not. Because her boogeyman, President Trump, got the job done. God forbid she says, thank you for getting this person off the street. Thank you for arresting this person before he got behind the wheel and ran over some innocent, hardworking citizen, before killing some innocent family. What am I saying about this? I'm not saying that you don't need to pay attention to the numbers, because you do. Sometimes the number can tell you where you need to focus your efforts, where you need to focus your energies, where you need to put your resources. I'm all about the facts. And if you take an unmanipulated look at the numbers, it can point you in the right direction. But you have to look behind the numbers, and you can celebrate crime is down. But what's left after crime is down? If crime is down 13%, 20%, 9%, what's left? How many people are still being victimized? And what can you do to eliminate that? Let's just use common sense. If you're saying, well, crime's down 9%, well, that means there's still 91% of crime out there. Are you ever going to get to zero? No. And is there a cost? Yes, there's a cost. And nobody wants to see people in military uniforms marching on the streets. That's troubling to everybody. It makes us think, oh, wow, the Army's taking over our cities. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to walk into the mall and see Army men, Army women standing there with assault rifles and helmets on. It makes us nervous. It makes us concerned that, oh my God, are we losing control? Are we losing freedoms? Are we giving up what we value in this country more than anything else, and that's freedom. But we have to look past that too and ask ourselves, what are they doing there? And what they're doing there is they're there to facilitate law enforcement. They're there to help what might well be an overwhelmed, understaffed police department, not to take over for them, but to help them, to get things under control, where criminals say, you know what, I need to get out of here, because it looks to me like there is an authority figure on every corner. And I look to my left and look to my right, and my fellow criminals and gang members that were here yesterday, they ain't here today. They've been arrested and put in jail. And I don't want to be next. I'm going to get the hell out of here. And maybe that message will calm things way down, where a hard-working, dedicated police force can continue the momentum. So before you knee-jerk react that this is a bad thing, ask yourself what the result is. Don't bury your head and knee-jerk react because you don't like who started this. You need to care about your community. You need to care about crime. And I know you care about keeping yourself and your family safe. You should be able to take a walk at night. You should be able to walk to your car when you leave your job after dark. What you shouldn't care about is who it is that's getting the job done, as long as it's getting done. And that is the real story. Wherever you're getting the real story, make sure you subscribe and follow. I used to sleep terribly, but I found Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep. Beam is founded in America and run by people who share our values of hard work. Their Dream Powder is made with a powerful blend of all-natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off. Try their best sleeping dream powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Sleep better, wake up stronger, and show up ready for your family, your work, and your country. Because when you're well rested, you're unstoppable. And this country needs more people like that.